Hello, dear. It's Heather, and you're watching Save Today with Heather J. I'm somebody who has spent her entire adult life living paycheck to paycheck and being one life event away from financial crisis. In an effort to change that, I have decided it's time to create a budget and stick to a budget even when things get hard. In order to help me be a little bit more successful in that, I have decided to create a budgeting channel. In needing to check in with the channel, I have to check in with myself. And the checking in with myself, the consistency and the follow through has been something that's been very hard for me in the past. And I need to be able to push past the difficulties that have stopped me previously. So I've created this channel, and I'm inviting you along with me. And part of what I've done to bring some joy and positivity to my budget is to bring some of my creative endeavors into the channel as well. This gives me something to look forward to, something positive, something happy. So I'm bringing my happy place into my dark and cloudy place. So I thank you for deciding to check in and visit with me today. Today's video is going to be my week 3 spending check-in, or spending overview, I guess, for the month of August. For me, week 3 went from the 11th of August to the 11 plus 7, 18 to the 18th of August. So when I check my flexible spending, I'm checking my groceries, my dining out, transportation, art, and miscellaneous. These are things that I have a little bit more control over. I can choose where I go, how much I spend. I don't know. I don't owe anything until I'm right there at the moment trying to pay that. That's not something that I am required to pay or something is set up by somebody else. So that's what we're looking at here. I have given myself an estimate this month of $140 a week for my groceries, which would be $560 for the entire 4-week month. I've given myself no funds in my budget for dining out. I've given myself $40 a week for a total of $160 this month in transportation. And I've given myself no estimate in art and no estimate in miscellaneous. When I give myself an estimate of $0, I realize that because I'm me, because I'm human, because things come up, it's likely that those will go negative. Those will go in the red. I'm likely to end up having at least one thing in any of those categories within the month. But when I purchase those things, other things will end up being sacrificed. And so I want to be very aware and conscious and super hyper focused on those areas at this time. So that is what I'm starting with. Let's take a look and see what I spent in this week. On the 11th, in the groceries category, I went to Walmart and I spent $24.81. On the 11th, in the miscellaneous category at the post office, I spent $34.14. I'm gonna stop and take a second and explain this one. This transaction did not have to happen this month, but it had already been waiting and not having happened. If you may recall, in the month of June, I was working on that pillow for my granddaughter, and then that became the bigger blanket with the scraps, and then the smaller doll blankets with the scraps of the scraps. That granddaughter, who I had gone shopping with and picked those supplies out 2.5 years ago, lives in a different state than I do. And so I needed to get that in the mail to her. I didn't get it in the mail immediately when it was done at the end of June. I didn't get it mailed at any point in July's budget. And so when it finally got to be August, I decided it was time to get that taken care of. So it didn't end up not getting to her until Christmas or after Christmas. It had already been so delayed. It was time to make that be a priority. So this $34.14 was purchasing a box from the post office. What's really kind of cool is now they have little tape strips. So I thought I was going to purchase the box, go home, tape it up, come back to the post office and post it and mail it. But the boxes now have on the boxes tape strips that you can peel off the box and seal your ends with. And so I had brought all of the stuff that needed to be mailed in the car with me, so that I could kind of get a good idea of the box size. And it was all there. So I was able to take the box out and pack it all up in the back seat of my car and tape everything up and turn right around and go back in and post it. But mailing it out of state was $28. The box itself was $6 and change, whatever. Those two together was the $34.14 to mail one box, with that heart-shaped pillow, that small baby size blanket, and 2 of the 4 Barbie doll blankets. Crazy. On the 11th in the groceries category, oh, I have this twice, $24.81. Well, I clearly messed up here. Interesting. On the 13th in the groceries category, I went to Kroger's and I spent $28.68. On the 14th in the miscellaneous category, I had to go to the car dealership and get an oil change and my tires rotated. Now, I had prepaid quite some time back for a certain amount of oil changes. I think it was 7 oil changes for the cost of 2 or 3, something like that. So my oil change was free, but I got my tires rotated at the same time, and that cost me $16.10 for a tire rotation, and that was in the miscellaneous category. This had been postponed already far too long, and having that wait until next month when I might have a little bit more money and might have some miscellaneous funds in the budget just wasn't really a safe option. At a certain point, you wait so long and then you risk the health of your vehicle. So miscellaneous, $16.10. On the 15th, in the transportation category, I filled up my gas tank, spent $37.16. In the 16th, in the groceries category, I went to Aldi's and I spent $12.70. I very recently have been making a lot of transactions at Aldi's. Now, Aldi's is literally right next door to where I work, and I go in there either to buy things for lunch or to add things to my lunch. And so I am realizing that when I've given myself $0 for budgeting out, for dining out in the budget, I appear to be using Aldi's as a dining out substitute. So when I haven't planned ahead, when I don't have enough groceries, when I'm pressed for time, when I don't particularly care for the options that I have available to me to bring to lunch, I'm going to Aldi's instead of Taco Bell, Wendy's, instead of ordering out Jimmy John's sandwiches. I don't know how I feel about that, because I don't know if that really defeats the purpose, because I'm still spending $12.70. Now, I got stuff that lasted me 3 or 4 days and not just one meal. But I'm not sure if I'm missing the point of that. So I'm going to just kind of keep my eye on that and be a little bit focusing on that, and see how, because I don't want to, it's like substituting one drug of choice for another drug of choice. Like it's still a bad thing we're doing. I don't know. We'll see that. On the 16th in the groceries category at Walmart, I spent $98.42. And then in the transportation category, I had 2 bus trips this week. This is the week 3 of August is the week that my son went back to work after surgery. And so I did not work on Monday of that week. I did work Tuesday and Wednesday, and then I had Thursday off. So when I work Monday through Friday, generally I take the bus and he takes the car. He will pick me up at the end of the day. On Thursday, we went ahead and got the registration and the insurance taken care of on the vehicle that we finally got fixed. And so I only needed to take the bus that Tuesday and Wednesday, and then we reprioritized some things and shifted some stuff around to make that happen. So these may be my last bus trips that have to be added in on these flexible spendings. But that was 2 bus trips, $1 each way, for a total of $2. And that, my friends, is the entirety of my spending in week 3. What I think is interesting is the way it exactly lined up with my entirety of my spending in week 1. I hope that does not mean that in week 2 I'm going to get as out of control, or in week 4 I'll get as out of control as I was in week 2, because this was ridiculous. It's my hope that my week 4 spending is really very small in comparison to week 4. But that's where we're at. It looks like I am needing to make some corrections here with the math I did. So unfortunately, I don't have my calculator set aside. So we're just going to flip to what I have, and I will make those corrections off screen after the fact, which is kind of nice. It's nice to know that I have a tiny bit more money than I thought in my budget. And maybe I'll have to go and double check my banking statements. I don't believe there would be 2 exactly the same transactions, but it's weird that I would have not caught that up until this point. So then after we go through the spending, we go and check in to see what that does with all of those estimates I've given myself. Those of you who've been following me know I'm already red in some of the categories I shouldn't be. So let's see what we're doing. In my groceries category, I spent $189.42. I had $239.51 left from last week, so that leaves me $50.09 for the entirety of the rest, well, for the last week. And we just saw I have to adjust that by $25. So this will go down about 25, and that'll go up about 25. Dining out, I had given myself $0, and I did not spend anything in dining out this week. So hallelujah, because last week was out of control. I spent $156.19 the week prior. So I've given myself nothing in that budget. I'm currently over budget by $169 in that category. That's out of control. Absolutely. I already discussed that in my week 2 spending. So that's all I'm going to say about that. In my transportation category, I spent $39.16. That's the 1 fill up and 2 bus trips. When I finished out week 2, I had $120.56 left, spent the $39.16. So I still have $81.40 left in that category. It may be that I'm giving myself a little bit too much in my spending category, and I may have to cut that back. We'll have to see how the month of September carries out before I finalize any changes in that. My art category, I gave myself $0 in my estimate, and I did not spend anything once again in that category in week 3. So that stays at $0. I'm very happy to see that. Now, I will tell you, yesterday, I did take myself and my project to Joann's Fabrics and do some looking around. I wanted to see what they might have in the way of bias binding to go around the edges of the pot holders I'm working on right now. And I wanted to see what packages of batting would cost. I'm still in the process of unpacking my stuff, and I know somewhere in my boxes I have a whole bunch of batting kind of folded up very nicely in a bag, kept protected from the elements, but I haven't come across that yet. And I already went searching through the boxes that were easy to get to. I didn't want to pull everything out to get to the things that were less easy to get to find that. I also have a giant roll of batting that I have for some of my big quilts. And that I know right where it's at. It's easy to get to. It's just a bit bulky and unwieldy, and that also is wrapped in plastic. So I have to cut all the tape on that, pull the plastic off of those, roll that out, cut the pieces I need, then roll that back up and put it back in the plastic bags, tape it up and put it back where it was. So it's a process that I was not looking forward to. So I just wanted to go and check and see what things would cost. Ultimately, I did the measurements around each of my pot holders and realized I was going to need between 8 and 10 yards of bias binding to go through all 6 of those. And I wanted to see what packets of pre-made bias binding would cost at Joann's and what quantities those came in. Turns out they come in quantities of 3 yards. So I would need 3 packages at $2.99 a piece. So $9 for the binding. And then the smallest pack of folded batting they had there was $20. It was on sale for 25% off, so it would have been about $15. I could have used one 40% off coupon on a single full-priced item. So on one of those binding straps, I could have used a coupon. I just felt like at that point, I'm talking between $30 and $40. I could not find a way to justify that within my budget. But looking gave me the realization and the motivation to go find something else. Additionally, in looking at all of that biased binding, I did find a colorway that I really liked with both the jeans on the one side and that flowery fabric I chose for the other side. So I went through my fabrics that I have found to see if I could find something that was vaguely in that colorway, and I was able to do that, and I was able to unroll that batting and deal with that. So I went hoping I might be able to find something I could convince myself it was okay to buy, and ultimately realized I could not. So I did the hard stuff, and honestly, the hard inconvenient stuff was like 20 to 30 minutes of pulling everything out, getting what I needed, and putting it all back. It wasn't that hard. It honestly was faster than driving to Joann's and looking at all of their stuff and driving home, but I needed to do that for myself. Anyway, in the miscellaneous category, I did spend $50.24, and again, that was the trip to the post office, and that was getting my tires rotated. I was already negative $53.89 as of week 2, so now adding that, I'm on over budget by $104.13 in that category. Nothing in this miscellaneous category that I'm in the red in is anything I feel like was not okay to buy. I don't feel bad about any of those transactions. The only thing I could potentially have put off was shipping that box. But there's never going to be the money to make that a priority at this stage in my life. It just had to be a priority even when things were tight. So at the end of the week, I had spent $278.82, which puts me over budget in my flexible spending by $141.64. Again, I have a math error to fix there, so that's not quite right. So this would be closer to $254, and that's, my brain's not quick enough for that math. We'll fix that before we get to the week 4 spending. I'll address that. I don't have my calculator sitting right next to me. I wasn't prepared for that. I don't have my whiteout sitting right next to me. I wasn't prepared for that. I thought I had done all of my math errors on my scrap paper before we got to this point. So live and learn. All right, so that is it for the scheduling portion or the budgeting portion of this video. Now let's get into the craft. And let me double check that my camera is still recording because I'm having issues. It is. All right, so I'm working once again on making pot holders, hot pads out of jeans. I've taken the back pocket from the back side of the pants, and I've taken the coin pocket from the front side of the pants. I've sewn them together. I've cut around the edges. I now have my layer of just cotton batting, my layer of Insulbrite attached to the back fabric on all 6 of these. And this bulked up an awful lot by getting all of those layers together. I did just do the 1 layer of Insulbrite because in reading the directions on the packaging, that looks like what is being recommended. They don't say on the packaging which direction the mylar portion needs to be in, and so I just have chosen to add that facing the back fabric. Oh, that didn't go all the way through, did it? So now what's left, what I need to work on to move this to the next step, is to go ahead and cut all this extra off and pin my binding to that. Originally, I was looking for biased binding. And the reason for that is biased binding stretches more than straight binding. And maybe I can show you some of that. Well, this is the fabric I ultimately ended up getting out of my fabric scraps. These are scraps that are left over from a quilt I did. So let's see if we can show some of the stretch difference just with this small piece of fabric. So when you have a piece of fabric that's woven on the loom, sorry for the education here, they set the loom up and they run the threads back and forth like this. They have a machine that does that now. This is nothing done by hand anymore. And that is called the warp threads. And those will go from selvage to selvage. Oh, I wonder if I have that wrong. And then you will have what's called the weft threads that weaves in and out of that goes side to side. So you have a little bit of stretch, almost no stretch. And then when you go at the 45 degree, this is your bias, and you have a lot of stretch there. So when you have bias binding, this goes around curves a whole lot easier than this does. So this, when I go around curves, there's no flex here. So that pinches and pulls. So when you're doing something that has these weird shapes, the bias binding is easier to get around those curves. In order to take a piece of fabric and cut everything on a 45 degree angle, I need a much bigger piece than I have. I could probably go find that somewhere in my stash, but once again, I'm digging through boxes and I don't know what's where. I have this entire stack of stuff that's already mostly in strips that I can use. So I'm going to use that, and I'm going to just be very slow and careful and go around these edges. So that's what the next step is to trim the edges, get my bias strip. Well, I'll probably have to cut these into smaller pieces. By smaller, I mean thinner, because I don't need this giant piece wrapped around the edge. Obviously, that's ridiculous. So I have to get this cut to the right size and then cut these to the right size. I will get everything pinned using the binder clips. I will zigzag the one side, fold the binding over, and then straight stitch it to the other side, or hand stitch it, either way. So that's the next step. When I finally get to the point of sewing everything together, it is my intention to only sew one and then actually use it to see if I'm happy with the single layer of Insulbright and the single layer of cotton, if this really does protect the hands from the heat the way I want it to, or if I need to add another layer. This is fairly bulky for a single thing, and if I double this up again, that's even bulkier, and we need to be able to manipulate and bend that and pull things in and out of the oven. So we'll see. I want to do one, I want to use it, make sure it works the way I want it to before I finalize the last 5. So that is where I'm at with this project. Does not look like much has happened. If you are somebody who does not craft or build or create anything on your own, this may look like it's 10 minutes worth of work. This was actually probably about an hour and a half to 2 hours worth of work of getting it to this stage, just getting these extra layers added in there and getting everything shifted. It's probably going to be another 3 or 4 hours worth of work to get this ready to start sewing. So I don't expect that I will be to that point tomorrow, but I will have moved forward some. The other thing I wanted to talk about is like this one here. Yesterday when we were talking, I said I was probably thinking about narrowing this extra floppy bits here. And I think I will do that. I wanted to give myself nice straight edges, which you see here, this lines up beautifully, but I don't like how far away these edges are from the edge of my pockets. And so I'm probably going to go ahead and narrow those up before I get that binding on. I don't know, maybe I should sew the binding like this on one and attempt it. The thing is, once I sew the binding on, if I change my mind, then I have to unsew everything, and the chances of redoing the work are pretty slim. So that is where I'm at now, just slowly moving one step forward each day. And that is where I'm gonna kind of stop this video. I do still have to do my debts and desires. I have to do my week 4 spending check-in. I have to do paycheck number 2 closeout, month-end closeout, and then my positive month in review. So I still have 5 more videos, and then we get started into September. I have no idea at this point even what I might be considering for September's project, but I still have a video every day to get caught up. Today, at the time I'm filming this, is Tuesday morning. I will post this overnight, so it will be available by Wednesday. So we're talking Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Well, you'd see this Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. A whole full week before we even get into September. And at that point, in my mind, I'm a couple of days late for September. So we're still playing this game of catch up, this posting every single day. We're still making forward progress in every single part of this. So once again, I thank you for joining me on this journey today and every single day that you're here for me. Wherever you are and whatever it is you're doing today, please have some fun. And bye-bye now.